presented to council on June 26th as the fees that we are proposing. From staff's perspective, it's council's decision to set the fees at the level they want to be set at. We looked at one of the neighboring agencies that have similar type of facility, when they do similar type of events, and we presented it in the last meeting, and they charge somewhere around $10,000. We propose a fee to you, and it's your council's decision to set the fees at whatever rate they want to set it as. So,
can you elaborate a little bit more on exactly what that other entity was using the streets for? What was the group who rented the fees?
It was provided to council in the last meeting with City of Walnut Creek. We included, as they have one of the similar type events that Clayton is holding. Again, it's council's decision, whatever fees they want to set. This is not a cost recovery fee. This, as Mala pointed out, I think she answered all the questions.
Okay, so we went through this on June 26th, and I can already feel the hostility coming towards me here at the dais, so I'm going to help dial it back just a little bit, I hope.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand if we're being compared to something that's in downtown Walnut Creek or Heather Farm Park.
Again, we presented to you on June 26th that this is a fee that council can choose at whatever rate they want to be. This is Clayton fees. This is set by Clayton Council.
Okay, so I appreciate you saying that, because in all of the meetings that we had, council kept saying that the consultant recommended it. And so you came up with this fee based on the comps. You're recommending it, and we can approve it or not.
Yeah.
So based on everything that you've heard in all of these meetings from everybody who's speaking, and clarifying what the use would be for, how it's a benefit, etc., do you still stand by $10,000 for a street closer? It's not your call to make, but it was your recommendation.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand, do you still stand by $10,000 per day to close down the streets?
Yes, that's
is a reasonable number.
We presented to council as a recommended action, and it's council's decision.
I understand. And so, can you explain to me the difference for the tiering?
Tiering for the it's been presented to council at different number of participants. Council can change any of that at their discretion.
Fair, but we can't make a determination and a decision. At least I think somebody said. Well, not informed. What was it that Ed said? I think he called it, well, use your wisdom to do analysis. I'd like to be wise in this choice. So my question is, what is the difference in 500 people versus 10,000 on the tiering? I'm trying to understand the wear and tear.
We looked at the similar type agency, and they have this fees. We presented to council. It's a recommendation to council. I don't make policy decisions or recommendations. It's council's decision again.
Okay, so in Sonoma, where they have actual street fairs, they charge $2,000 to close off the street. I mentioned that on June 26th. That's like a nationally known place to come, where people fly out here to go to things like that. We're Clayton, but we get people from the surrounding areas. I'm trying to understand, if we're trying to compare apples to apples, and I understand that you didn't actually do that analysis for us in this case, how can we justify $10,000 for a street closure when Sonoma's charging $2,000? And I get it's our choice, but I need you to help us make a wise choice.
Each agency has their own different policies. Sonoma is, it's more for like a destination, so they have the economic benefits. They look at different things. This is a recommendation to this council. This is the council's decision at whatever rate they want to set this at whatever tiering structure. It's council. It's a recommendation to council, but council makes that decision. So it's your decision.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, before you presented this $10,000 recommendation to council, did you hear that number from any conversation outside of conversation with the council?
No, I've been working on the direction of the city manager, and previous city managers. So I was working with the city manager, so anything with this, I work with the city manager on the recommendation. This item gets put together in front of you. We do the work, we work with the city manager, and we put the staff report in front of you. And that's what we did today on this item. Again, I will say one more time, that's the council's decision. Council can set this. As Mala pointed out, this is not driven by Proposition 26. You get to set the policy in here.
I'm just trying to figure out if there are any outside influences that helped you, other than the research, that you did get that number.
Not that I know of. That this is not something that somebody influenced me. I work with the city, under the city council, under the city manager.
Were any other council members in the room, particularly the mayor, when you sat with the city manager?
I don't remember any of this. I was working with the city manager.
That's not, so
Yeah.
you remember sitting with the city manager, and my question
worked with
is,
the
was
city
the mayor in the room with you when that happened?
I don't remember the mayor being there, but I worked with the city manager on this item. This is something that was asked for us to look at. We looked at one of the agencies that have something similar. This is new for city council here. You get to make that decision, the policy decision. So, and that's why, it's in front of all 5 of you today.
Okay, I know the answer to that is yes. That's why I keep asking you. It's yes. So I'm gonna answer
Hold
for
on a
you.
second, you're answering for me?
Yes.
That's not correct.
Yeah.
You were there.
No.
Okay.
Interesting, but no. Are there any other further questions for our finance consultant?
He's leaving it to us, so no, maybe I'll just direct him to you guys as we keep going.
Sure. Any other questions from council?
What are we gonna do next? We've already done public comment. We're gonna deliberate, or do you wanna just do that now?
Questions or discussion is fine,
Sure.
it's all together.
Yeah, because we're not doing public comment now. So, do you wanna go? Do you want me to keep going? What do you wanna do?
I just thought I'd acknowledge that we had a meeting in March, which was very well attended, given the short notice of the discussion for cancellation of the agreement. Sprung on us at the last moment on Friday with a council member who had already announced they're being on vacation. And fortunately, there was enough word to be put out that the citizens of our town could hear about that and be able to voice their thoughts. And at that meeting, there were 15 plus residents who stood up and stated their disdain for the decision and how it was brought. We had a similar conversation in June when Nitish presented his thoughts. Our room was packed with people who had their opinion, and even though they were shortened in their ability to voice that opinion, they stated it very clearly that they were against this particular part, this excess fee. And then we have a room tonight that's filled with residents who are quite passionate about the disagreement about this particular fee. Now, I want to be clear. We have a fee schedule here that has escalated from previous years. And we appreciate the work that Tish got together to put this fee schedule. I'm not questioning the fact that the fee schedule has some pretty exorbitant higher charges. For instance, the parks benches and then the use of for birthdays and whatnot. That's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt a lot. What we're questioning is this special use fee, which I know you're saying it's not targeted, but there are 2 groups at this point that would be paying for that. And neither of those groups have received a whole lot of support recently from council members who are purporting to support this. And I just want to be clear that it appears punitive. It just appears punitive. And given all the passionate voices over 3 meetings and the lack of listening to them, it's a bit challenging. This could have been handled so much easier and we could have got to a better place. It was handled poorly from the start. There was no need to urgently cancel the CBCI contract, especially when you didn't have a fee schedule in place that was going to be passed in time, and then giving them mixed signals throughout the process about whether they can book anything past June 3rd or June 30th or not. I mean, here it is, August 15th, and we're now just talking about passing this piece. We have a lot of things to do. And we just went through a budget cycle in June where you said, hey, let's put $36,000 in our budget because we're going to get $36,000. We're not going to have that. So I heard 400,000 of you. I'm counting $300,000 in the hole this year. We're not gonna get the $36,000 you thought you were gonna get from that. And what we could get possibly from these fees is infinitesimal to the structural deficit, which you spoke about in July of 2021. And we had a conversation about in February 1st, 2022. I urge all of you, go please download the video from February 1st, 2022, when all 5 of us here in the City Council were talking about our structural deficit and how to fix it, and we were all in agreement. And Mayor Wallen was the one who said, hey, let's talk about an escalator. Let's be prudent about how much that'd be. Maybe it should be 400, maybe something more, but we were all in agreement we should go in that direction. And then it just blew up. We have big issues, and this is not gonna solve it. So why are we even talking? I reject the idea of even talking about this special fee increase, and we totally talk about the structural deficit that we have punted down the road, which is so important to talk about. We shouldn't be talking about raising the fees on above cost recovery until we have a larger conversation about how we're going to fix our budget problems in the future. If this becomes a part of it, then we'll make a conscious decision then. Not now. Because right now, it just seems punitive.
Too much stuff up here. I concur with Councilmember Cloven, but I know that that's not a surprise to anybody because I have, since this topic came up, including when I was out of the country, missed the first meeting. So several people have already mentioned this already, but I just want to give a little timeline on how the phrasing has changed. I am not against raising fees outright because I realized that our fees were very outdated and they were old. That makes sense to me. And so for that exercise, I do appreciate it. I do think that we are definitely going to have people who have their block parties, their birthday parties, their, you name it, graduation parties at the park, etc. I think we're gonna miss out on those fees because people are just going to take their chances and go sit at the park early in the morning, try to get a bench, reserve it, hope that nobody's reserved it. And if they do, they're just gonna move to the next table. No one's going to pay the amounts of money that are being asked for these to have a birthday party, etc. So I mentioned this at a couple of meetings, that it would be nice to see what the actual fees would be and maybe even start smaller to see if people actually bite. That way you can actually get them to realize the fees are going up instead of this large jump. That'd be nice. But we didn't. You guys went ahead and approved it, and here we are tonight. And keep in mind, everyone here, we don't have to pass this tonight. I don't know if that's clear to everybody. It's a public hearing. We don't have to pass it. But what I would like everybody here to know is apparently this is a done deal, according to a council member's husband last Wednesday, who looked me and my husband in the face when my husband asked, are you ready for next Tuesday? And we have this conversation about, what do you mean? What's gonna happen? And he told her, it's gonna be a packed room. People will be there. And the remark was, is this about the fees again? This is from the spouse. What are people worried about? It's a done deal already. It's a done deal, huh?
My husband did not say it was a
I
done
don't lie,
deal.
so let's be clear.
And also, your husband was threatening me with the 200 members.
Let's hold on.
200 angry members.
My
please.
husband didn't threaten. What
I'm not
he
sure
says
that-
is he's hearing, oh, this is good.
Wait,
No, I
hold
like
on
it.
one moment.
No, I like this.
I don't think
This is
that
good.
it's really necessary to bring in
appropriate.
conjecture.
It's completely inappropriate, but I want to be very clear.
So
If
you
people
could
think that I'm going to
conclude
sit
your
here,
comments.
I'm going to keep doing all the comments. If people think I'm going to sit here on the dais and be quiet and not share what's happening, you're wrong. I will not be silenced. I will not be quiet. I don't care that there's an election coming up next year. That doesn't scare me from speaking. If I'm not reelected, I'm not reelected. But I'll be gosh darn if I'm going to hold my tongue. I'm going to let you guys know exactly what is happening. I hope everybody's clear. I don't need to lie. So the timeline of what occurred from the time that we've been discussing all of this. Mayor Juan's blog on Facebook started off on March 7th as cost recovery, not for profit. March 8th, another recap was he wanted the city, wanted the CBC to pay their fair share for the city to recover actual costs. On the 19th, it was fair share of cost recovery. The 29th of March, all-in rate. By May 18th, he wanted to continue the discussions to pursue a master use agreement, which is great. I hope that we continue to keep doing that. And now we get to where we are just a few weeks ago, where it's got to be a win-win, and now we're talking about revenue sharing. And I get that minds can change and things can morph, but as there was opposition coming from all of you, the tenor changed, and there were pivots. Okay, and now we're full on profit. We started out at March 7th, cost recovery, not profit, to literally wanting to have a profit based off of how much the CBCA brings in, therefore they can afford to pay it. I agree with Councilmember Cloven. That sounds punitive. There's zero reason for a city to be profiting off of a nonprofit. Zero. And it shouldn't matter if they don't give away every single penny. It shouldn't. Let them deal with that with the IRS, etc. That we shouldn't be in the business of, oh, this pocket over here has money, so let's go steal it or take it or do whatever. We got to call the fee to take it from them. What are we doing? All of y'all should be embarrassed. I am embarrassed when I go to other meetings and people are asking us, what is wrong with your city? What is wrong with your city council? And keep that in your mind as we host the mayor's conference in a few weeks. It's embarrassing. I hope you don't get that when you're there. It's embarrassing. So think about that. Think about the fact that this was already a done deal and the fact that this does not have to happen tonight. You guys can go back, revisit, or on the fly, decide that you don't want to charge this ridiculous amount that you guys are making up and charging. It can be changed, but you guys decided on the 26th of June, you wanted to stick with it. You gave haircuts. Let's see how you guys roll the dice today and how you decide to vote. I'm gonna be a hard no unless this is only pass the master use fees and take away the ridiculously high, what are we calling it now? It was a street closure fee, now it's a special event fee, etc. Especially when the packet says we have to come up with a special events policy, etc., which we're going to do later. I know that's about the city events, but there's still time to tweak that piece, and it's a huge misstep if you guys don't do that, especially since you can't figure out exactly what it covers. It's, a couple streets, a corral, etc. I'm sure it's going to change tonight when you guys tell me what it means from what it was on June 26th, but can't wait to hear what you guys have to say.
Does that conclude your comments?
For now.
I just also want to acknowledge that in the March, the June, and this meeting, not one person from the public spoke in favor.
If there's one thing I have to agree with Councilman Cloven on, is there is a major structural situation we have to face. And I think we tested that with a survey that you sponsored where the public told us they were not in favor of a parcel tax. Am I right?
You're right, we learned a lot from that.
Right. But there are pieces to the entire financial puzzle that we face. And this is just but one of them, which hasn't been looked at seriously for some time. So, yeah, I appreciate the fact that no one spoke up in favor of us reviewing this or implementing it as submitted. But I still rely on the fact that the staff did an excellent job in coming up with some recommended fees and some cost recovery measures. To that point, we need to address this piece today. There'll be another piece in the next month and another piece thereafter and so on. Ultimately coming up to how do we solve the structural problem as so far defined this evening. The only thing that I see in terms of flexibility in this proposed fee schedule may be, and I underline may, be the percent discount that we're offering. That's the only flexibility I see. I respect what the staff has done. They have come up with good numbers, and I accept them. They're the professionals in that regard. Now, if there is some wiggle room with the discount, then I'm open to hearing it and see what might be a reasonable amount. We are giving this organization the steepest discount of all of them. Anybody coming in from outside of Clayton is going to pay twice as much as they would. True?
Half as much of a discount.
Whatever the difference is on the discount, you get my point. But I think that's the only piece we have where there's flexibility in it, because obviously the citizens of this community are not in favor of a parcel tax.
So, thank you for that, Jim. I really want to appreciate the fact that you and I are in the same place, that cost recovery is paramount. I've always agreed with you from the very first time you said that. The fee schedule minus the special event fees gets cost recovery for everything, and CVCA and every other entity that uses the features that we have on the fee schedule will cause us to get cost recovery, including now personal charges, which we didn't have previously. So we are getting full cost recovery, and there is no problem from any entity towards paying that. It'll be more expensive for private citizens, but the entities don't have a challenge with paying for that. Now, you're right. Let's talk about the parcel tax, because I love that you brought that up. On that meeting on February 1st, all 5 of us sat here and said, you know what? We got a problem. I sent you a text right after you did your July 2021 statement on our financial challenges, and said thank you. I appreciate what you put your neck out there as council member and actually told the whole citizenry what our problems are. And you were the first one to do it. Now, you criticized our mayor at the time, CW, for not acting on it, but I heard it and I acted on it immediately when we got a new city manager. When Raina came on board, I said, we got to tackle this now. And she immediately went to a 10-year financial schedule. Holy crap, this sucks. We are in trouble. And we all talked about it. I go, wow, what are we going to do about it? We all agreed that a parcel tax, now you didn't like 400, you said that sounds kind of high, and we got a lot of guff for some of the people, and you said, yeah, I got a lot of, you said shit for it. I apologize, but you were able to explain the need for it within a minute, and everybody got to the right point. At that point, we said, hey, we need to go start telling our citizens, and let's find out what they want. What we learned, Jim, was exactly what you said. They don't want to spend a lot of money on a parcel tax. They didn't say they didn't want to spend any. They didn't say they didn't want to spend a lot. And that's exactly what it was supposed to do, is trying to figure out what that was. So thank you. And we saved money, because by putting a parcel tax on the 2022 ballot, it would have failed miserably. And that's what we also learned from that. So that $30,000 we spent saved us $50,000 to $60,000 in a parcel, in a ballot measure that wouldn't have passed in the first place. So we learned a lot from that.
I would disagree. That ballot measure would have never gone forward, so it didn't save us anything. But regardless,
I disagree with what you just said.
That's fine. I'm comfortable with that.
I know you are.
I would say that the discussion of a parcel tax is not germane to the topic at hand, and we're straying far from what is on the agenda. So I'd table any discussion of a parcel tax.
The reason why I'm bringing it up is because it is directly relevant to this special fee which you're trying to pass tonight.
I think it's only relevant.
Cost recovery is on the table.
It's not relevant. And the reason why is because the only way that you can construe it being relevant is if you believe that this is done in order to balance some kind of budget or to get revenue. But it's not.
It's not being proposed to gain revenue we would not have.
It's not done with any connection to the financial condition of the city.
Okay. So, then why do it?
Because it's the prudent thing to do.
Okay.
It doesn't. If we were in a favorable budget position, I would make the exact same argument and it would carry the same weight as if we are not. Because the merit of charging a fee for rent of city facility stands on its own. It's irrelevant, the budget situation. The argument does not rely on that.
So are you saying that the staff report is incorrect?
I'm saying exactly the words that I'm saying.
Page 119 of the staff report, budget/cost impact. The estimate revenue from the adoption of these fees will increase the general fund budget by approximately $36,000.
You've read the staff report.
Yes. What you just said is not being used to raise revenue. What is this then?
That's what the staff report says.
Oh my God.
I feel like you're trying to.
It's like
trap me.
sociopathy. I'm not trying to do anything except for you just said. You
The
just
rationale,
said.
I don't think you're hearing me.
I heard you.
Okay,
I heard you. So don't gaslight me sitting up here on the dais.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'll say the exact same thing, but in a different tone.
Okay.
The rationale to support the argument in favor of the fee schedule is not dependent on the revenue that it may generate.
You would have done it anyway. So if that's the case, why can't you then take off this amount? Why is charging $10,000 for a street closure fee or a special event fee, why is that the number?
That particular number?
Yeah.
That was the number that was recommended. It was the number that we discussed as a council, and that was the number that we collectively decided was the appropriate amount. So
That's
that
not
is
my
why that's the
question.
number.
My question is, you said you would have done this regardless because it's a prudent thing to do, meaning I'm taking that to mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, you would have changed these fees because they were too low, the actual fees for reserving facilities. This special event fee is brand new. Are you telling me that putting this in here was the prudent thing to do?
Yes.
Why?
Because if any entity is to rent the city facilities, then they should pay a rental fee.
What, other than the
Because
CBCA?
the city isn't in the business
Uh-huh.
of allowing its facilities to be used for free. And I think what the operative question then is, should the facilities of the city be able to be used for free? Because in the past, they were. And so if the answer to that is no, that's your answer. If you or anyone else believes that the city the city facilities should be used or be able to be utilized for free, then we will disagree.
Okay, so are we agreeing that the city facilities are the streets?
Certainly.
Okay.
All city infrastructure is the city facilities.
Okay, so we had a street closure fee because Pride paid for it. It's in our current fees now before this is even passed, and it's $144. So there were already fees being paid for the facility. You've just now ramped that up. So I understand that was waived for the CBCA 15 years ago and that you canceled that contract. But how do we go from $144 to $10,000? That's the question I'm asking.
I'll repeat the same answer. That was the amount that was recommended by our consultant.
Uh-huh.
That was what we discussed as a council, and that is what the number that we agreed to.
Okay, so yes, it is subject to consideration. He proposed it, the consultant proposed it. You don't have to go with that recommendation, which is what.
That's correct.
Correct. So there are lots of questions because I would think, given all of your expertise with numbers, this is something you would have questioned. How do we go from 144 to 10,000? If it's a facility and it's a street closure fee, why are we doing that? Why are you recommending that to us? You question everything else that staff does. Why was this not a question?
It was a question.
And I
what
also
was the
believe
answer?
in September
Okay.
that we are going to go into more of a city-sponsored event policy, correct, next month. And I'd like to just say a few words rather than
Oh, yeah,
make it a conversation.
I'm
back
not
and
done with
forth,
my question yet, though.
Because I worked really hard
Reclaiming
on-
my time, I'm not done with my question on this first. And then I'm gonna be done, I think. I'm trying to
Let her
understand,
finish.
trying to understand how we go from $144 to 10,000 for the same events. The streets were already being closed. If the argument was we've canceled that contract and we want you to pay a street closure fee, That makes sense to me. Pay the street closure fee. And maybe have it go up at the same amount that percentage that all the other fees went to for reserving other facilities around town. Why is that not an option? I think Vice Mayor Diaz said there's very little wiggle room and there's no flexibility. We have lots. You may answer,
Okay.
if you choose.
I believe I've already addressed that question, so I won't repeat myself.
It was, your answer wasn't clear at all, and it would be nice if you could answer for me. Why are we going to $10,000? Or if that's the case and you
Wait,
wanted to say.
How about we do it in a one-part question so that you don't,
Sure. Why are we going to $10,000?
because that is the fee that was recommended by our consultant that we as a council discussed and we as a council recommended to move forward in this public hearing.
Okay, why are we going to a tiered fee then instead of a flat fee?
Same answer.
It's not very wise, because you could go to the lower tier and then still do haircuts if you wanted to. Because 700 people versus however many that $10,000 level tier is, it's the same wear and tear. It's the same facility. You're not even calling it wear and tear. You're saying using our facility. What difference does it make how many people come? The same streets get closed.
That was a multi-part question, so
You can answer the last part. What difference does it make how many people are here in town if the streets are still closed?
I don't think that's germane to the fee schedule.
It absolutely is, because it's tiered. You're
It is.
tiering it, and I'm asking, why would you accept that?
Because again, I will give you the same answer. Do you want me to repeat it?
Actually, I would, because I
Sure.
want it
was
on
the-
a loop when
it
this is
was
like
the-
shared.
It was the fee recommended by our consultant that we discussed as a council and we approved to move forward in this public hearing as a council.
Okay, and as a council, we can change that right now. Do you think it needs to be changed?
No.
Thank you.
Are you all set?
Was there a tiered structure recommended by the Unitish? Or just
Yes.
the $10,000 fee?
You can look at the record, but it is there. The answer is yes. Did you have comments?
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments. And I'm not even going to get into it with anybody, not on the council or in the audience, but I just want to remind everybody why we began this process is because we had not looked at the master fee schedule in so long that no one in the council, no one on the staff could remember the last time that it was updated. And so the city as a whole agreed back in December to hire this firm, GovInvest, and Atish to come back with us with his recommendation. And there are, it's not just about the special event fee, there are more than 200 fees that are on there. And we appreciate, it took months and months and months of due diligence, staff interviews, really trying to assess what staff time, the value of staff time. And the overwhelming impression was that we were severely underestimating our staff time and accounting for it. And so that's really why we did this, right? This is one solution to getting to financial stability. We're not trying to make money off one organization to balance the budget. We know that our problems are larger than that. The cost of everything is going up, and we completely understand that this might feel painful to some, but I look at it the other way. I feel like our downtown is a jewel, right? We live in a beautiful, idyllic community, and our downtown is the venue, right? And so the only way that there can be these beautiful events and gatherings by wonderful nonprofits, and I do say that, we have wonderful nonprofits, is you're renting the venue, right? So when you're having a wedding, you have to rent the venue. When you're having an event, you have to rent the venue. And our downtown, and let me finish.
Order,
our
please.
downtown is our venue. And so I don't think anyone is disputing all the hard work that the CVCA has done for decades and decades. Again, a very good friend of mine is one of the founders. And Christine, I actually have been to a meeting since yeah, you and I talked. So you might not remember that. Otherwise, I've had conflicts in my schedule, and I apologize for not being there. But I just want to say that we're here not just representing one organization or another. We're representing the financial well-being of our city and 11,000 residents who live here. And so what I say tonight is I want us to approve these rates, and then I want us to reassess, and I know our city manager will do his due diligence to reassess in 1 year's time. Maybe it's not going to be 36,000. Maybe it's going to be less than that. Maybe it's going to be more. If we keep saying it's too much and nobody's going to pay it, we don't want that to be the self-fulfilling prophecy. And I know that in September, we are going to sit down and we're going to do some fine-tuning to the city special event process and policy, and we'll make some additional modifications then. But thank you.
Did you have any comments you want to share?
Talking about the nicety of downtown, I would like you to walk out the door tonight and go look at that Grove Park. It is a disaster. We resodded it, we reseeded it, and it's still got holes all over the place. Look at all the benches. They need to be power washed. Nobody is taking that seriously. Yet we are out there every 2 weeks trying to make I don't know what, lemonade out of a lemon. But I got to tell you, it's a challenge. We need to get money from our special events so we can maintain that park downtown. It needs to be done. It's been overlooked for 2 years, and it's been replanted and resodded, and it looks like hell.
So maybe we shouldn't have concerts in the Grove there then, every 2 weeks.
That's just one event. There have been several other events that have taken place downtown that have used the park.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
So the intention is to get fees from CBCA for the Grove Park. Is that the intention?
No.
Well, no, I'm asking Councilmember Diaz because that's what I just heard.
Are you asking me what?
Is the intention to get fees from CBCA through the special events to
Absolutely
work on
not.
the
That
Grove?
is not. The
Then what relevant is what you just said?
CBCA gave us a token donation this year. In the past, they gave us more, but they are not being asked to take care of that. We'll get the money. We'll get it fixed some other place because there is a park budget right now for that. That's the answer you're asking for.
Yeah, so it should be coming then. So I'm trying to understand the point that you were just making, Vice Mayor Diaz, on how horrible the Grove looks and that there needs to be some upkeep and the benches power wash,
Let me ask you a
etc.
question. When's the last time you really looked at that park? Go down there and look at it.
I was just there the other night after I had dinner at Groveside Bistro.
I
with
didn't
Tamara.
see you out there last Saturday
I
when we had a
wasn't-
concert.
I wasn't in town, sir. I was in Hawaii.
Whatever. I want to know the last
But
time
I'm
you
glad-
went down and looked at that park.
I just told you. I just said I was there Sunday, August
And is it still
2nd.
the gem? Is it still the gem of the town?
Well, that's subjective, but again, there are Grove Park funds to take care of exactly what you're talking about for maintaining the park. It shouldn't be coming from other entities. There's a Grove Park district for that.
The fund is
And I am
empty.
not suggesting that the CBCA foot the bill on that. That is absolutely the last thing I would expect.
I understand, but Councilmember Cloven and I were trying to understand your point about
I
the
kind of
wear
think
and
that
tear
this is
on the
beyond
park,
the scope.
etc.
I think this is beyond the scope
it's-
of our discussion.
Yeah, you go on ahead and ram it through the
But
way
I-
y'all were going to.
I
I'll
would
wait to hear.
say one point that you raised, Councilmember Tripiano, the fee study that we engaged GovInvest for, I think there was a little bit of confusion. The actual cost was $14,875. It was mentioned earlier, $35,000 early in the evening. That's incorrect. You can see that agreement at the December 2022 meeting. Embedded within that number, or at that same time, was multiple different services, and so it may be confusing as to what was for what, but in the staff report it does delineate the items. So the fee study was that number that I just said that I can't remember, 14,875. So just as a matter of clarity. That was all I had on that one. Okay. Is there a motion on the table then?
I make a motion to postpone adopting these master fees tonight.
Second.
Well, I would make a substitute motion that we approve the fee schedule as indicated in the staff report. And looking for a second.
I'll second it.
Janet, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Trupiano,
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman,
I'm a hard no for the vocal minority who stood up earlier to say exactly what just now happened, which is that people would come here and speak and be completely ignored and their voices ignored after you heard the rationale and the fact that I heard last week that this is already a done deal. I'm a hard no.
Councilmember Cloven,
This is a real disappointment. I'm a hard no as well.
Vice Mayor Diaz,
Yes.
Mayor Juan.
I'd just like to acknowledge first that the CBCA and a number of other groups in town provide a great benefit to the community. I myself, on behalf of the city, am grateful for the work that's done, and I hope that that can continue. I do know that this would be an increase in the fees paid by some organizations, and that is never easy. But given our environment, the rising cost of all things, this fee schedule reflects those increases and is appropriate, and I vote yes. Thank you. That closes item 8A, and we will move on to item 7. Well, this is secondary item 7B. This is action items. We can take a 2-minute recess if it please the king.